Hi everyone, I'm excited to demo the Tublian AI developer agent, which is part of a Tublian operating system and is designed to work with human developers to speed up software development process. The agent can operate independently and only contact developers if assistance and clarification is needed. Now, this is an important point. This agent is not perfect yet. We are very early in our journey. Sometimes it does struggle to fix a problem and requires some developers' input. Our idea is, though, to have this agent work on issues that no developers wants to work on, maintain legacy code bases, analyze the root cause of an issue, fix bugs, conduct research, so that you and I can focus on more creative work. Let's see this in action. To demonstrate, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to pick a very popular framework, open source framework. In this case, we're going to be using a open source project called JSON Crack, which is an amazing open source project which essentially allows you to visualize various data formats. There is an open issue in this project. The issue is right here. I was looking into this, which says search not updating upon content change. So let's see this issue so that we can understand what's happening here. So I have this project, so I forked this repo. I have this repo running locally, and what I've done is that I've assigned the agent as a collaborator to the project. So here's an issue. As you can see, this, like I said, this is an amazing project. On the left-hand side, you have a data. In this case, it's the JSON data, and the right-hand side is essentially visualizing the data. So the issue suggests that if I'm searching for some node here, in this case, I'm going to search for members. And as you can see, it's clearly highlighting that node, which is perfect. Now I can always go back on this here and change the data element, and I change it to mem. It did change, but it's still highlighting it. Obviously, it should not be because it's not members. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to have this our agent to try to propose a fix for this. Ideally, our agent is designed to run behind the scenes where open issues will be assigned to this agent and it will work independently. But for this particular demo, I'm going to invoke it so that you can see it in action. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to stop this Next.js server here and go to this console where I'm going to invoke this agent. What I've done is that I've pointed the agent to the issue number already, and let's see what happens. So first thing that agent is going to do is that obviously look up the issue. As you can see, I've identified the issue correctly, which says search not updating upon content change. So this agent actually works like you and I do. It's gonna look into the issue. The first thing is essentially doing is looking at the project structure. What that essentially means is that it kind of understanding what project it's working with, the type of the project, the languages, the tools, the dependencies. This is very critical and important, especially when you're working with the legacy code bases, because it could point to old dependency, old libraries, old frameworks. So it suggests fixes, it needs to make sure that it actually working with the current versions of the libraries and tools. So when it's done, it essentially moves to the next stage of the process, which is determine the verification strategy. So it's very important to, when you work with legacy code bases, not to just propose solutions, also to ensure that it doesn't introduce new problems. So the verification strategy essentially figures out what kind of tools that it can use to verify its solution. If the project has unit test cases, it's going to use the unit test cases. If the project has compiler, linters, all the tools, essentially what that happens in that stage. Next is moved on to what we call is planning phase. In this planning phase is essentially understanding the issue and figuring out how this issue kind of fits into the whole application structure. So it's kind of essentially determining the app flow. Which is also kind of critical how this issue fits in. So it's kind of figuring out how each components, classes, and functions can interact with each other. So like an app flow. Now this agent might spend some time in this flow because as it's understanding, exploring new content, it might have new questions, it's trying to figure out the answers for those questions. So this number essentially tells you how many times it's going to iterate on that same stage. Once it determines that, it's going to move to what we call is a solution mode. In that case, once it's figured out, okay, I have enough component, I've identified the classes and functions that is related to this issue that I'm working on, it's going to move into the solutioning space. In the solution space, what we have done with this agent is it's just not going to drive in and just cranking out solution. It needs to explore and figure out what multiple solution, what options do we have. So in this case, it's kind of exploring multiple solution options. There are many ways to solve the problem. This is particularly very interesting because each solution has a different level of complexity and benefits, pros and cons, right? This is something that it's going to allow projects to configure this agent based on what kind of mode they want to operate on. So I've configured this agent to right now to pick the solution that has the lowest complexity. So that's what it's doing right now. So once it picks up the solution, it's going to go into what we call as an implementation phase. In implementation phase, it's going to make a plan. So it's not, again, not about just generating code. It's going to figure out, okay, once I generate code, how I'm going to test that code. Once I test that code, how I'm going to integrate that code. So what's that? All that stuff happening right now. So mind you, we still haven't generated any solution. We're just moving through the phases right now to figure out what code we should generate. which is a very important thing to understand. The code generation is probably the easiest part of this. It's very important to figure out the right solution. So another thing that we have done with this agent is that this agent is designed such a way that it's flexible to work with various models. So it's not only GPTs, LLamas, it is configured to work with any state-of-art legacy models as well. So now it's going to actually what we call as the first step of generating code. It might take some time depending upon what we're doing here. Then once again, every time we do something, it's very important to also verify that. So even if I'm talking about that this is an AI developer agent, in a way, there are two agents kind of working in tandem here. One agent is focused on generating and solving the problem. Another agent is essentially verifying is the solution is actually solving the problem. So kind of a QA. So the project supports linting. So we are essentially using a linting tool here to propose a solution. So looks like we are kind of done with the process. We're done with linting. We created a pull request. So let's see that here. So I'm going to go back to the project page here. This is my repo here. I'm going to refresh. As you can see, there is a new pull request created here. So I'm going to go now. It just says pull request opened now. So it says propose a solution for 308. So when it creates a pull request, it essentially gives you all the steps and solution plan that it went through. It also gives you the results. Like you said, sometimes if it has an issue, it's going to ask you a clarifying questions here, like I struggled with this, how should I fix that problem? So look at the code change here a little bit. So turns out what he has done is essentially added a JSON payload, which is kind of interesting. I added a JSON payload, which kind of makes sense because we were modifying a JSON data. So as the JSON data is getting modified, the use effect, which is the React event handler, needs to get invoked so that it can refresh correctly. So looks like a reasonable change, but let's see if that actually works. So I'm going to go here. As you can see, it switched to the branch. I'm going to just run this npm dev again and see if that has solved the problem. It's ready here. I'm going to go to my editor back here again. I'm going to change this to, let's refresh this all over again. I'm going to do members. It should update here. That's great. And I'm going to search for members again. Obviously, it's highlight. Now, the issue was if I change the node, let's see if it actually fixes the problem. If I change the edit the node here, it should not highlight anymore because it's not members. So I'm going to make the modification here. As you can see, that it's not highlighting. So it's actually solved the problem. So hope you like the demo. Ping me, ask me questions. I'm curious to answer any questions you guys have. Thanks for watching.